Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. I am with Misinformation and our son. Yeah, she's driving right now, so she's off camera. But anyway, she's going to chime in on this because we are going to do an episode today about, we have a Model Y and a Model 3. And with the Model 3, if you haven't caught my episode on that yet, check it out. I'll put it at the end of the video and maybe up in the corner up there too. But anyway, we wanted to talk about which car is the better car. And as always, she's smiling at me because we have a difference of opinion about this, honestly. So that's kind of cool, actually. So if you don't know, the Model Y is the standard range, which is the cheapest Model Y you can get, the one from Texas with a 269 mile range, is approximately $7,000 more than the standard range Model 3 is, which gets, I think, 260 something. Anyway, they're right about the same range between the two cars. Anyway, so they have about the same range. There's a $7,000 difference in the cost of the vehicles, but if you haven't seen my video that I did, you can get inventory versions of the Model 3 currently for up to, oh my gosh, what were you talking about, $37,000, so another $3,000 off. So we could be talking about $10,000 difference between the cost of the Model Y and the Model 3. Now, one thing to caveat all of this with is if you're shopping and you are one of those tech-forward kinds of people or something, you might care a great deal about getting the latest tech. And one of the reasons why most of us believe that the Model 3 has inventory on sale right now is that a new version, Project Highland, is coming out soon. So if you care about that and you want a Model 3, you might want to wait and see how much it is, but the odds are that it's going to be substantially more expensive. Now, it's not going to cost more than the Model Y, but it could cost somewhere around $44,000, whatever. I'm just totally pulling that out of my rear end. So anyway, but it's likely is going to cost more money, so that the differential between the Model 3 and the Model Y is not going to be so great anymore, at least until the Project Highland Model Y comes out. So anyway, take that as a caveat to start with. So we're going to start with the advantage of the Model Y, which is what we're in right now. It is a bigger car, obviously. It is a crossover SUV as opposed to a sedan. So it is substantially larger. We're doing a road trip right now, and there's a ton of stuff in this car. And we put things in the front. And, again, for the Model 3, it also has all of that stuff, but it doesn't have the big giant hatchback. It has the standard sedan with the regular trunk lid and things, so you can't fit as much stuff. We have put, I don't know how much lumber and stuff we put. Lane is like really good at that, but you can fit 8-foot lengths of lumber into the vehicle. You might be able to get away with that a little bit with the Model 3, but it is also slightly shorter as well than the Model Y.
You can. I have put things in the Model 3 as well. It's just height is a problem because of the trunk.
So you don't get that. You don't get the extra height. And maybe we could have fit all the stuff in the car in the Model 3, but it would have been a challenge because we got a kid in the back seat, so he's taking up one of the seats, and so it would have been more of a challenge. So anyway, big advantage to the Y, of course, is it's a larger car, more convenient if you have a family or if you do a lot of road trips where you need a lot of stuff with you.
The back seat is more roomy too.
And the back seat's more roomy.
When we've had people over and we've just packed in to go to dinner, the 3 people sitting in the back versus...
Right. Yeah, in fact, we did that with the Model 3, and it was very tight.
It was very tight. And when I was at my conference this week, we took an Uber to get a meal, and my CEO and me and someone else was sitting in the back seat, and it was super cramped in the Model 3.
Yeah,
in the Model 3. It was an Uber, it was somebody driving Uber. But, so it was really cramped, and I would say in the Y, it's going to be a little bit less than that. So.
Plus, the seats bend backwards in the back seat of the Model Y, and that is a huge advantage. If you don't think that makes a difference, it really does. It's like an airplane when you're stuck in the upright position when you have to take off, and then you can lean it back, even though it's just like 20 degrees, 15 degrees, something like that. It makes a really big difference for comfort sitting in the back. So yeah. Number 2 advantage to the Y, of course, is it's higher off the ground, so it's easier to get in and out of the car. You have better visibility when you're looking around when you're driving. You feel like you're more. There's a tendency with squatty cars for them to feel a little bit like they might disappear and people in trucks and stuff might not see you. Now, if you're outside the United States and used to driving with smaller cars around you, then that's not going to be such a big thing. But in the U.S. at least, people it could be stressful to be driving a short car. I drove an RX-8 for a long time, and then we had a Mini Cooper, and you felt a little bit tiny compared
Actually,
to that.
the Mini Cooper was fine for me. I guess it was a little squatty, but I would say that I much prefer getting into the Y than I do the 3. Even though I'm short, only about 4'12", I have a problem. Like, I feel like I just fall into the 3 whenever I get in, and I much prefer the Y. But I much prefer SUVs over sedans, anyways.
Right.
So,
and probably trucks even beyond that.
yes.
She's got that what American thing.
Are you calling me a Southern?
No, I was saying American. Americans love their trucks, so there you go. So yeah, I was just gonna have that. I got it on here. That getting in and out of the car is easier with the Model Y for sure. The 3 is lower, and I have to get in. And as you get older, you become less flexible and fluid. So getting in and out of the car is a little bit more difficult. As we said before, you can fit a ton into the Model Y. Also, tow hitch. You can get third-party tow hitches with the Model 3, but they're not going to be able to carry very much. We have a tow hitch in this car, and I used it once to demo something, and that's it. So it's kind of a bummer we haven't really used it, but we can. So if we ever want to, we can. You can tow things. You can put a trailer on it. Whatever you want to do. You can put a more extensive.
So is that not possible at all with the 3?
Tesla will not do it. I think you can get like third-party installations, but it's not official. But whatever it is, I think it's either 3,000 or 3,500 pounds you can pull with a Model Y. You can't really do that with the Model 3. Now, I would, on the other hand, if you really are looking at a tow hitch, don't get the single motor version of the Model Y or whatever, because you're not going to want to tow off of one motor. So you definitely want a 2-motor version of that. So anyway, okay, the two of them have about the same range, so that's a wash. And then of course you go up in models and things like that. I'm comparing the cheapest to the cheapest because we're assuming that money matters to you, because if not, as Lane said, get the Model X.
Yeah, get the Model X.
Get the X Plaid. If money is no object, just go for it.
Which is interesting, because when talking about if money is no object, you would go with the S and I would go with the X.
Yeah. You can start to see where we're going to differentiate on this, right? I can tell. Well, you can probably already tell. The Model Y is a fantastic road trip car. You can sleep in the back of it easily. It's just big, so you can put lots of stuff in it as you go on a road trip. So it works really, really well. Right. And this is kind of a goofy thing, but you could say that full self-driving at $15,000 is not as big a bite, relatively speaking. So if you're thinking of the percentage cost of the car, if the car costs $40,000 and it's an extra $15,000, you're like, oh, that's a big bite. If the car is $47,000, $48,000, you're like, okay, it's not as much. So, I don't know. Psychologically, it really doesn't matter on a practical sense, but psychologically it might matter to you as well. Okay, on to the Model 3. So the Model 3 definitely more sporty. In fact, it was shocking how different it was to drive that car when we purchased the Model 3. We were not expecting that.
Yeah. And I definitely agree with that too.
Yeah.
It does feel more sporty to drive it around than it does the Y.
Yeah, and just to keep it in mind, objectively speaking, we have the dual motor Model Y, and so it actually accelerates 0 to 60 faster than the other car. Full self-driving might be degraded. Got rain coming in. It objectively accelerates faster than the Model 3, but the Model 3 actually feels almost as fast. Although
I don't notice it at all.
Okay.
I don't notice the difference.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they both accelerate extremely fast.
Right.
And so I don't notice it.
There's no problem getting out of traffic on either one. And of course, if you want the Model 3 Performance Edition, it's going to be actually faster than the Model Y because it's a smaller car. The one thing I have noticed, though, is that the Model 3 with the rear-wheel drive, I have had a couple of instances where obviously it corrects itself, but you can feel it begin to slip in very wet conditions or something. So,
in the 3?
Yeah. I've never had that happen in the Y. The Y is just rock solid, even if it's raining heavily.
Do you think it's tires?
No, it's the rear wheel drive.
Oh.
So it can't pull the car, so it's only got 2 wheels to adjust. But anyway, so I haven't, it doesn't do anything. It starts and then it stops because, of course, the computer figures out what's going on and adjusts it. But I have begun to feel it do that sort of fishtail feeling. So I would say that the Model 3 is more fun to drive. It just, again, because it's sporty, it's good.
I do feel like it handles differently and better.
Right.
And
Again, you have to take this with a little bit of a grain of salt because this car is a 2021 model. The Model 3 is a 2023. There have been a lot of improvements, even though they're still called the same thing. They're very different cars than they were. So even if we got into a Model Y that was a new Model Y right now, I have a feeling it would probably feel a little tighter and it wouldn't be quite so much. It doesn't feel loose. I don't even know what to say. It's such a subtle difference, but there is.
I don't even know what you're talking about
Yeah.
right now. But I would say, what I would say is there's something there. I can't tell you what it is, but there's something there.
Yeah. It's just the tightness of the handling and everything. So, anyway, and like we said at the beginning, the Model 3 is $7,000 less officially than the Model Y. But because you can get inventory sales, and I did look at Model Y inventory sales, but they're actually more expensive than list price, which is crazy. So if you want a Model Y now, you actually have to pay, generally speaking, it looks like more than the list price of the car. But if you want a Model 3, you can get it for less. So, we're looking at approximately a $10,000 difference. And you can just go out and get a Model 3 today. I think if you want a Model Y, you're going to have to pay for that if you want it today, as opposed to waiting. It's not that long. It says June, July, so we're talking about 4 to 6 weeks, something along those lines. So not that big a deal. The Model 3 does qualify all of them, including the standard range, and I'm not sure how this happened, but it qualifies for the full $7,500 tax credit again. So, booyah. So that's a good, So now...
So I could have waited for the white seats?
Yes, you could have waited for the white seats. I'm sorry.
Gosh. John.
Now she's upset.
John.
And we could have got it for about $30,000 after the tax break.
John.
Yeah, I know. Such is life. You buy what you buy when you buy it, and you're happy with it. So I know.
I'm happy with it.
There you go.
I'm happy with it. I would have really been happy with it with white seats.
The white seats, yeah. She really wanted the white seats. I don't know. I feel like white seats are just a magnet for dirt, but whatever.
I see one though, and it's just like,
They are pretty, I gotta say. Black and white is really pretty. So.
Also, having the 3 and the Y just works with our lifestyle.
Yes. Which is exactly what, yes, we were just going to get to that. So the Model 3, I feel like, is a better city car.
Yes.
In terms of just, it's a little bit shorter, a little bit easier to fit in parking places, a little more get around town kind of thing. It's a little smaller, it's a little more efficient with its battery pack, so it costs less to charge, all of that kind of stuff.
Also, I work from home, so there's not, I just don't drive the car an awful lot. So we also chose not to get FSD on the Model 3, because if we go on a trip, we're definitely going to take the Y. We're definitely going to take the Y.
But the other thing is, we can always subscribe for a month and get the full self-driving in the other car. So,
Yeah, so it made it a really easy decision. I think if we didn't have the opportunity to do the subscription, it would have been something we would have had to really weigh the pros and cons on when we purchased the car.
Yeah, which actually we did. If you dial it back in time, when we bought this Model Y, we originally put $100 down for the Model 3, and then we were driving home from the Tesla thing, and we're like, wait, we want the Model Y.
Yeah, for sure.
So, because we were focused on money. We were like, well, it's cheaper, and so we were going to save the money, but on the way home, we were like, well, scratch that $100 deposit. We'll do a new $100 deposit on the Y. So that's how close we were between the two of them, but we were very happy to have purchased the Y when we did. So the Model 3, I actually really prefer driving the Model 3 just in terms of the feel of it and everything.
And I prefer the Y.
And she prefers the Y, which is why we said we had difference of opinion. So, you can take that either way. I think without a doubt, the Model 3 is a fantastic second car if you've already got the Model Y, or if you are a single person, or you don't have a large potential family or group of people who are going to be traveling, even if you're doing road trips and stuff. As a single person, the Model 3 would be a fantastic car. So again,
it fits our lifestyle, and having it that way fits our lifestyle.
It's a really interesting conundrum, but I think if you're married, if you have a kid or two or something like that, I don't think there's any question that if you only can get one car, you should get the Model Y, assuming you can afford it. Assuming
there's also
a
reason that it's the most, what is it? The
most popular car in the world.
Car. Yeah.
So it's definitely because that car is really fantastic. But if you're single, if money is very important, because obviously saving $7,000 to $10,000 is not nothing. That's not at all. That's a huge cost savings. So if those things matter to you, then the 3 is a really fantastic car. And we're talking about relatively small, like, advantages and disadvantages between the two
we're
cars.
being very nitpicky at this point.
So you're going to do well. And we're in South Carolina, folks. Every time I drive in this state, I'm like, oh my gosh, the roads around here.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It's crazy how bad the roads are in South Carolina. Anywho, so that was our thoughts about that. I'd be interested to know, or we'd be interested to know, what you think about your decision in the comments, whether you have thoughts about when you purchased a Model Y or Model 3, or if you're thinking about it. That would be even more interesting, what you're sort of leaning towards and why. But those were the big things that we're thinking about, was size, ease of getting in and out of the car, ease of putting things in the car, the sportiness of driving in it, the form factor. Do you prefer an SUV style or do you prefer a sedan style? All of those kinds of things. And then again, just remember at the end of this that there is a likelihood, and again, it's all speculation until it's announced, but there's a likelihood that a new version of the Model 3 is going to be coming out, which is going to be more expensive than the current version. So this is probably a fairly limited time window when you can get the car at quite this steep of a discount. So take that as it is. It's always lovely to get the greatest new thing, but as you can tell, what is this? This is an iPhone 12. That's an iPhone 13, You can survive a couple of years without that, and then you can get the latest the next time around. So anyway, I would say if you want the car, if you can afford it, and it fits your budget right now, then go for it. If you really want to wait for the next thing, then go for that as well. Either one of those is great. Any final thoughts?
Nope.
Okay, I guess we're good then. Thank you so much for Misinformation and me. And again, we're driving up to my parents' house because my mom has to have surgery in a couple of days. So send us good thoughts and good prayers, and do the whole like and subscribe thing. Go to the merch store, support me on Patreon and on Twitter, and YouTube channel member, all of that kind of good stuff. And in the meantime, we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.